The video that you are about to watch is an excerpt of the original. After my long efforts in dealing with YouTube's copyright management system, I had to give up. I haven't given up my projects though. And while we cannot publish the entire video here due to the imminent danger of having the channel closed down, you can still enjoy excerpts which we've carefully chosen in order to make this video meaningful, fun, and educational. If you want to watch the complete video, including the sound of the music from the original recording, as well as special edition videos which will never be published here on YouTube due to the same copyright issues, and the Beatles 150 series, as well as other series and courses, you're welcome to visit my Ko-fi or Patreon page. I hope you enjoy this video. But I saw you peep through, yeah, your window. Hi everyone. Beatles number 36 in the 150 series. Well, this one is entitled No Reply. That puts some ideas in my mind. Did he write a letter and not get an answer back? Did he call somebody on the phone and not get an answer back? I guess I'll find out. So let's see what I have to read. We wrote No Reply together, but from a strong original idea of his, Lennon's, McCartney relates. I think he pretty much had that one, but as usual, if he didn't have the third verse and the middle 8, then he'd play it to me pretty much formed. Then we would shove a bit in the middle or I'd throw in an idea. That's such a great picture of collaborative songwriting. Someone comes in with an idea, hey, I got the first verse or two, and a little tune, whatever, some chords, now help me finish this off, and just sit down and bounce it around, and before long you've got it finished. About All I've Got to Do, Lennon said that he wrote this song specifically for the American market because the idea of calling a girl on the telephone, was I not very far off, was unthinkable to a British youth in the early 60s. I remember I listened to another song. Regarding No Reply, he said in an interview, I had the image of walking down the street and seeing her silhouetted in the window and not answering the phone, although I have never called a girl on the phone in my life because phones weren't part of the English child's life. I read part of this quote early in the Beatles' journey. I don't remember what song I was listening to at the time, but I remember this little bit of a quote. What are you saying?
That's the song!
No, there was a song that I listened to earlier.
That's the song!
No, it's not.
Read the paragraph again. About?
Oh, all I've got to do. Look here, it's late, and I just put Liesel to sleep, and...
It's okay. You just listen to it once in your life.
Look,
I know.
There was another thing I said that some recent video, I don't even know which one it was, but I read a comment on the channel recently saying Switzerland is not a Nordic country.
Sweden, yes.
I'm thinking, when did that come out of my mouth and how? I'm telling you, sometimes I do these evening recordings. It's been a long day. I don't know where my brain is sometimes.
It's fine.
Let me read this paragraph again. About all I've got to do. This paragraph is about all I've got to do. Well, stay awake, Amy. Lennon said that he wrote this song specifically for the American market because the idea of calling a girl on the telephone was unthinkable to a British youth in the early 60s. Now, regarding No Reply, he said in an interview, I had the image of walking down the street and seeing her silhouetted in the window and not answering the phone, although I have never called a girl on the phone in my life because phones weren't part of the English child's life. So this is kind of a combination of discussion about two different songs in which both of them included some idea of calling on the phone. No Reply shows Lennon genuinely pained. While he usually opted to write about teenage romanticism in his earlier work, yes, we've been through a lot of that, which was the common fare for pop music at that time, he now appears to be no longer afraid to display genuine emotions in his songwriting. And I guess I remember a few songs back, he was crediting Bob Dylan for kind of pushing him that direction and being willing to taking the time to really look into his own self to see what exists in myself that I can sing about. Okay, no reply. Has something to do with the telephone. Something to do with walking down the street? Let's listen.
This happened once before.
Kind of has an unfinished feeling at the end. No reply. Leaving it open. I guess I feel like this song, Leonard is playing with the coloring and the soundscape of his voice a bit more. I've heard him use his voice in different ways along the journey, and his voice has kind of developed some along the way. But here, what he's doing with his tone sounds very intentional to express different portions of the story in the music and give us different images in our mind. So that's interesting. Also, is this the first time that the Beatles has used the word guy in a song? It's always been this boy, that boy, the other boy, some boy. Now it's another guy. Well, of course it had to rhyme with lie or whatever it was, but that one caught me by surprise. Okay, let's go back and take our time and work through in little bits and pieces.
This happened once before.
Isn't this different here? His voice and even the instrumental backing, there's something almost, well, let's take it one at a time. His voice. Is he hoarse or is he intentionally singing like this, or perhaps both? I don't know. But it's such a different tone quality than some of the really cutting, edgy sounds that I've heard. Maybe it also has something to do with the recording equipment. I don't know. But he's clearly using his voice differently. Something is different with his voice here. And then when the instruments enter, they also have a kind of subdued quality. The percussion is a sort of different beat. There's something a little bit sultry about it. Everything here is painting this kind of subdued and almost brooding quality.
No reply.
And it's more than just the voice. It's the music too. This line, da ba da da bum bum, da dee 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 dum. This song doesn't have an introduction. It just starts right in with his voice. And when the instruments enter, we enter on a 4 chord. We're in the key of C. We enter on a 4 chord, the F. And then we move to the 5 chord. And then we finally arrive at the 1 chord. Da dee 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 dum. Kind of a gentle arrival. That's the first downbeat we have, and it's a very gentle, settling, resting point. And it's not just the chord. But notice the pitch of the melody as well. It's not the root of the chord. It's the 3rd, which happens to be scale step 6. Well, if we wanted to get really technical, I'll try to keep this short. Key of C. And that puts us on the 3rd below the tonic, which could easily be a minor chord. It could be. Well, that's different, isn't it? but it actually suits. Da dee 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 dum. Feels kind of tending towards the minor melodically, although they ended up placing instead. And then we could actually go to stay minor there, but of course they didn't. So even though this is working with the major chords, F, G, C, the melody has these overtones of a kind of minor quality and could easily end up on a minor chord in those moments. It's already a much more sophisticated piece of music than some of the others that we've looked at. Certainly the early ones, She Loves You or whatever. I mean, just think of all the layers we have right at the beginning. We have this melody which is suggesting a minor chord, or at least providing the opportunity and encouraging our ears to hear that even though it doesn't exist. We have the voice, which is so different. We have the lyrics. This happened once before when I came to your door, no reply. Certainly not the She Loves You. It's kind of a story. And I can't say I'm terribly surprised, knowing that Bob Dylan was quite an influence on Lennon during this period. So all of this in just the first couple of bars. Let's keep going. I saw the light. Suddenly everything changes here. We had this nice da 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 dee dee dum, da 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 dee dee dum, dee 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 da dum. And then suddenly we have this really pointed, punctuating, I saw the light. I saw the light. Like he's saying, you can't hide this from me. I saw it. And I mean, you can't deny it. So there is an element of drama in this as well. Not just in the storyline. Neither is it your classic teenage romance paperback drama. But it is musically dramatic. I saw the light. Well, you know, thinking back to the early ones and all the yeahs, there's another thing about this song which stands out. Notice how at the end of each phrase, there tends to be quite a long pause, a gap, which is not filled either with a counter melody or instrumental guitar lick or yeah. Look at all these rests. Even if you can't read music, if you know that what I'm circling means silence or wait, don't give me music here. Look at this. Everywhere. Oh, here are two in a row. More. Big spaces between each little subphrase. Da dee 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 dum, da 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 dee dee dum, dee dee da 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 dum, da dee 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 dum, da dee 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 dum, dee dee dum. I saw the light. I saw the light. Da, 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 da. Listen to how much silence there is in this melody. Have you ever heard somebody who's nervous or timid or insecure, and so they fill the silent spaces with chatter, with noise, anything, or they can't sit still and simply rest. They can't sit quietly. They have to be fidgeting, doing this, doing that. There's a need for busyness, a need to fill the space, a more mature person, somebody who has confidence in who they are and is resting in that confidence, doesn't have the need, doesn't feel this urge to be constantly creating motion and busyness. Now think about what it is to write a piece of music. To write a piece of music that has significant gaps in it. Is my audience going to get bored? Are they going to wish for something there? Do I need to hurry along because they're waiting for the next note? This is a more confident, mature type of writing. And we hear it. There's this emotional comfort. I don't mean that it is a comforting piece of music, but I mean that the emotional presence and the emotional expression is comfortably offered to us. It's not done with a shy ducking behind noise and commotion. It's not done with filler material. It is simply placed there for us. And we are allowed room to enjoy it. And because of that, we can appreciate subtle nuances. My first listen through a few moments ago I was noticing points where he was using a touch of vibrato in his voice. Subtle details, which, if there were a lot of other busyness, it would kind of get lost in the mix. But because of this, because there's not a lot of need for filling it with instrumental or vocal interjections, whatever, we get to enjoy these subtleties. And we get to sink into the emotional experience and the story of it.
I saw the light.
I saw the light. I saw the light. I'm talking about all the rests, but there's also this increased in the instrumental accompaniment. There is an increased aggression. It's kind of more percussive, more punctuated. We could say more instrumental consonants applied, very energetically. Again, it adds to the drama and gives a sort of feeling of finger pointing and at the same time, sort of punch in the gut feeling. I saw the light. You can't deny it. You can't tell me something different. And I feel because I saw it. And it comes through so well in the way they've said it instrumentally here.
I saw the light.
That's a lie. I guess I've mentioned this on a couple other songs where you're singing note for note, syllable for syllable. And then at a special moment, there's one syllable that is carried over several notes. We call that a melisma. This is a melismatic moment. That's a lie. And it has an effect on it kind of points it out to us. I feel almost like I'm listening to someone say, meh, 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 stop talking, I know what you're telling me is wrong, it's not true, that's a lie, you know, but it's done in this kind of sultry, soft huskiness, tone quality. That's a lie. And there's this elegance to it. There's a grace in that moment. That's a lie. Which is such a contrast to the in-your-face accusation. That's a lie. I mean, why didn't he say, that's a lie? No, that's a lie. Another moment of kind of multi-layered sophistication in this piece of music.
That's a lie.
And this time, it's not just, I saw the light. It's, I nearly died. It's almost as if we can jump from verse to verse and see the emotional punchline. I saw the light. I nearly died. That's its own story, one to the other. I saw the light. I nearly died. Is there anything else in here that goes with that? I think we kind of came back to the other. Yes, it comes back. I nearly died later. So we don't get to hear anything after that in the storyline. But I nearly died. And then boom underneath. Boom underneath.
I nearly died.
This is a moment where the silences are so eloquent. With another man. In my place. In my face or in my place? In my place. In my place. We don't need to say any more. That says it all. And we are left to sit there and feel that. In my place. Oh my goodness.
Doesn't it resemble a little bit a sort of operatic scene where things are happening, you know, and it's like, it's the drama, it's the
It is very dramatic, and it is very picturesque. Yeah. There's a sort of I don't know if I think of it as being theatrical, but I suppose you could set it theatrically quite easily because it has this. There is drama.
Yeah, it's the depth of, like Romeo and Juliet,
Yeah.
dramatic.
Right,
you know,
right.
The depth of the drama.
Right, and you feel every moment, and it just, everything is set to just hit you.
Right.
In my place.
And this is almost as if he's singing it with a frown. If I were you, I'd realize. And then the hand claps. Give it some emphasis. If I were you, kind of like you're driving a point home, like almost a school teacher reprimand. If I were you, I'd realize. What does it say I'd realize? Well, let's listen to it. That I love you more than any other guy. There's the guy. Somebody please tell me if they've ever said guy before in a song. Somehow I feel like I've never heard them use this word.
If I were you.
At the same time, the vocal quality and the bit of harmonization happening there keeps it bright a little bit. It's not heavy, it's not thick. It's more like he's hoping by saying this to perhaps change her mind. He can't resist the impulse to tell her this because he's still in love with her, and okay, she's with another guy, whatever, but come on, wake up, girl. I'm your man. At least I believe so, and boy do I believe it. Kind of presenting oneself as the positive influence, the positive personality. This is the one you want me to be with. Then we're back to, I tried to telephone. The other thing that I'm realizing is that several things. There's no real instrumental break, guitar solo. There's no real chorus. And the mix of solo versus harmony is also nicely scattered throughout. Sometimes it's not just verse all solo, chorus harmony. It's a bit different. It's as if the harmony enhances certain moments of the story. It's being used as another musical tool rather than just a pattern that we rely on. And it makes it so nice to shift from one to the other. It's very smoothly done, but it enhances certain moments so nicely. And then we're always brought back to his voice on its own.
'Cause you walk hand in hand.
That comes before the beat. It's a syncopation that really kind of sticks out there. Nobody else is doing anything. It's just that.
Man in my
Kind of a jazzy, bluesy, multi-layered chord. And there's no reply. This dum bum bum, which has been coming through. That's the punchy line of the verse. That's the last thing we hear. It's unresolved because we've moved up to an A. Da dum bum. If I play, I'm not going to do exactly what's in the music because I want to show you the impression that this gives. So if I'm in the key of C and I play, that sounds like the end, right? All right, key of C. We call that an interrupted cadence, or sometimes it's called a half close, or no, not a half close, a false cadence. I tend to call it an interrupted cadence because that's what it does. It gives us the feeling of what was meant to finish got interrupted. Now, this upper note, this A, on I saw the light, I nearly died, and now no reply, is the same note. Interesting, now that I'm thinking of it. Okay, so the same note, which is the root of the chord that would interrupt the end. Does that make sense? Here it is. That's what we hear at the top of I nearly died. No reply. No reply. No reply. Instead of no reply. Right? So it has this feeling of unfinished, incomplete, left open. And then, okay, the instruments do kind of wrap us up on a sort of C chord, more or less. But it has some extra notes in it. We have an A, we have a D. Okay, I have to go back to the technical stuff because I'm discovering even some more things as I go through here. I said at the beginning that it was suggesting the possibility of an A minor there. This is suggesting the possibility of an E minor. Okay, so the A minor at least is, it's suggesting that, and as I said, that is not the actual chord being played on No Reply. It's more of a F7 with the 7 spaced in there somehow. But the tendency is there melodically. And then we get to the end and we finish on a C chord. But guess what we find in that C chord? We find that same A included. And to top it off, we even find another note added in, which is the D. Also, well, these are jazz, blues, seconds, 9s, 7s, 6s, whatever we want to call them. But they suggest, they imply, they send us towards a little bit of the minor tonality or the not cut and dried, completely solid, closed up conclusion. So here's what we have at the end, the final chord. Okay, it's a C chord. But it's a C chord with stuff in it. Oh, so colorful, so rich, so luscious. It suits his voice. It works so well with the other hints and tendencies that have been in this music all along, that A showing up in places that could ask us to go somewhere that it doesn't. Altogether, I have to say that I think this is a great piece of music. It works so well. It's so, well, it's not elaborate. It's not long drawn out. It's quite compact.
And when you think that after he wrote it, Lennon just didn't trust the piece well enough to include it and to record it, and he offered it to another musician.
Really?
Yes.
Well, I'm glad he finally did record it, because I see so much development in this piece of music compared to his earlier work, their earlier work, the Beatles and Lennon, all of them together. And for me, it's an incredibly satisfying listen. A really rich experience. Now, some music that is sophisticated and so well put together sometimes doesn't want to be messed with. But it's always fun to take it and try and see what opportunities does it give us playfully, experimentally. And, well, I have this new Beatles book which I've been playing around with, and now I have another song to play with, and let's just take it to the piano and see what we find out. Okay, change of key, because in this book it's in the key of G rather than C, which is fine. It just puts the pitch here, and we land on a C chord to begin with. And then a big pause. And then a big pause. Now, what I want to do is I want to try to sort of invent a fake Beatles, yeah, interjection, something in those big pauses so that we can feel what it could have been like if they had reverted to their old habits on this song. When I came to your door, no reply. Let's get all my fingers in order here. When I came to your door, no, yeah, no reply. Yeah. They said it wasn't you, but I saw you peep through. Yeah, your window. Yeah. Something like that. You could imagine the Beatles singing that, Beatles style, and it would sound like the Beatles, the early Beatles. But wouldn't it destroy the impact of this piece? And so that's what I was talking about when I was sitting listening and going through the score, that I feel like this shows a lot of artistic awareness and maturity to allow these spaces to breathe and for us to experience them as moments where we sink in to the music. Well, while we're playing around, let's just get really crazy. What if we add a swing to it? Kind of a little bit more tending towards the jazz and blues swing style. And we can enjoy, well, we didn't really get into the sixes and sevens much there, but I threw a couple in just for fun, passing notes. But you can hear how all of this is embedded within the music. And all they have to do is lean one way or the other, and it comes out. So it's fun to play around with these. And, maybe when we have a favorite piece of music and we're used to listening to it, we kind of get stuck on that as the definitive version, which is, of course, what it is. But we lose sight of the fact that within that version, it's so pregnant and concentrated with so many details that if we just exaggerate one or pull it this way a little bit, suddenly it changes the perspective, not always for better. What I just did here certainly dilutes the impact, but when you go back and listen to it as it is, you might have a little bit more awareness of those elements within it as it is. And then you can appreciate all the layers and subtleties just a little bit more. So, as you can tell, I've really enjoyed this piece. It was fun, and I'll see you soon.